Hello, welcome. This is the first of what I hope will be a series of podcasts where we'll talk about all things creativity and music related. So, inspiring projects from around the world, stories about how music's affected different people at different times in their lives, and basically anything that we come across that has something unique and interesting about it, and that relates to the amazing universal language that is music. For this first episode, I was blessed with the opportunity to talk to Dan Blackwell. He is the founder of the awesome project that is 4x Collective. Now, 4x Collective is a worldwide music collaboration project whereby Dan organises meetups with musically creative minds from around the globe to compose and record original music. This not only promotes undiscovered talent, but it also celebrates unity and peace, which is definitely something we could use a lot more of. A recent Kickstarter campaign of Dan's first caught my attention, and this was a project relating to an all-female orchestra based in Afghanistan. The orchestra is the first of its kind and goes by the name Zora. When Dan found out about Zora, he was inspired to reach out to them, so he composed a piece of music entitled Sister, and he released it within a video as an open letter to the talented women of the orchestra. It's a beautiful piece of music. I'll play it for you towards the end of the session. There's also a wonderful animation within the video, and you can check all that out over on YouTube or visit 4barcollective.com. The Afghanistan National Institute of Music soon responded to Dan's proposal, and they agreed to arrange a collaboration with him. So he'll be travelling out to Afghanistan and recording Zora performing the song, as well as filming a detailed documentary about the musicians and just generally about life as a creative in a country that for so long refused to allow music at all. When I heard about what Dan was doing, I wanted to find out more about it, more about what 4bar Collective represents, more about Zora. It's incredible what they've achieved and what they've fought for, and I just generally wanted to learn what Dan's hopes are for the upcoming trip and what it will entail. I reached out to him for an interview, and he very kindly obliged. So, without further ado, here's how it went. Dan Blackwell, hello. How's it going?
Hello. I'm very good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for your time today, for coming to chat with me. It's a privilege to have you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to talk to you too.
So, Fighting Extremism with Music, this is the Kickstarter campaign title that first grabbed my attention.
Yeah, it's a headline, isn't it?
It's quite a headline, yeah, it's quite magnetic. I think as a concept, it's intriguing, it's optimistic, and it's obviously loaded with challenge, but I think it's just full of possibility and hope, and I do think it's amazing, the whole Sister project. So yeah, it's a real privilege to talk with you. Just to offer a bit of background, how did you get started with the 4bar Collective, and what led to the idea, like the first collaboration?
Well, I actually came up with the whole project overnight. I kind of stayed up all night one night. I'd been working as a session guitarist for quite a long time, and the music industry that I was kind of involved in was very backstabbing and everybody was out for themselves, and I'd had an argument with the manager, and I stayed up all night just trying to work out a way that I could carry on doing music, the thing that I love, without there being all of the selfishness that was involved and all the kind of backstabbing that surrounded it. So I wanted to create a corner of the music industry that was supportive, that was collaborative, where people appreciated musicians, because when you're working with artists and you go to a gig with them, some artists can be very, oh, well, they're not good for these reasons or these reasons. They're looking for things wrong with whoever the performer is out of insecurity for themselves, because if somebody else is on stage doing a better job with them, they get a bit, some people do. Some people do. Some people look at people on stage and go, wow, yeah, I'm going to take some advice from that. But when I go on stage, even if they're not very good, the person I'm seeing performing, I look for the good. I look for the good, and I want to talk to them afterwards, and I want to say these bits were really, really great. Focus on that and bring the best out of people. So I'm looking for the good in music all the time.
Yeah, exactly. No, I completely agree with that. It's the same way that I approach music reviews, I guess. There's always, there's always something special and something gold about it, and you just have to look for those strengths. Definitely. So do you have a background in music? Did you study music or?
I did, yeah. I left school when I was about 15. I did a GCSE in music, but I think I got an F. I don't know what happened there. I was predicted an A star, so I don't know if I got somebody else's grade there or not. But I wasn't really too fussed at the time. You know, it is when you're 15.
Perhaps you were too creatively free, going your own
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
Rather than
yeah. But then after that, I applied for a place at the Academy of Contemporary Music in Guildford to study guitar there. So I've been learning guitar since I was about maybe 11 or 12.
Nice.
And I wanted to get into that. So I moved down to Guildford when I was 17 and I studied diploma and higher diploma in guitar performance and contemporary music.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So the 4-Bar Collective, is it about 7 years that's been together now?
No, let me think. I came up with the idea in 2013.
Okay.
And then I ran it for 6 months. And then it went on a hiatus until just over a year ago.
Right, okay.
So in total, it's been running. It's been active for about a year and a half, I would say.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so how many projects have you kind of done in that time so far?
It's hard to say. I've probably worked within the range between 200 and 300 musicians.
Wow.
Yeah, and of all different backgrounds as well. And the projects I've probably done about 10 tracks, I think. Now, a lot of them I took down about a year ago because they were good, but, you know, the video quality wasn't there. They were, you know, it was kind of a bit pixely and things like that. And I just kind of decided I wanted to start fresh a little bit.
Yeah.
And, you know, give it a kind of reboot. So at the moment I have two solid tracks out at the moment that have been released with videos, and I'm sat on quite a few projects at the moment, but I'm kind of holding everything off until after the Afghanistan project.
Yeah, no, fair enough. That makes sense. So I guess you've had kind of a year and a half practicing, essentially. And
really, it's been experimenting. Yeah, traveling around and trying things out and finding, you know, it's difficult when you have a project that hasn't really been done before. There's nobody I can turn to look to for advice or how to do things. I have to kind of find my own way. So it has just been a case of putting myself out there and letting it evolve. And I don't think it is even fully evolved yet. You know, every month that goes by, it gets closer to being, to living its potential. And it's getting there. I think everything's going to change a lot with this Afghanistan project.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
It looks so. That's something I was going to ask about, actually. So were there some projects around at the time that you started it that kind of inspired you to go that direction? Like, how did you...
When I started 4-Bar Collective?
Think of it, basically. Yeah.
Let me think. No. I mean, there were, but none that I naturally knew of. I actually found out about them after I came up with the idea, which is a good thing, really. So the idea actually, it kind of initially spawned musically from just how I used to play around when I first started producing and composing. You start playing around with loops, don't you, on GarageBand and things like that, you know. So that you had all these loops that were all in the same key, and you could have them all in the same tempo, and you'd make a song out of them. And so I thought, what if I were to take 4-bar loops, but record them like myself originally? You know, if I can make a song out of these random loops and put them together and make this kind of bonobo-esque kind of lemon jelly kind of song, then why not do it by meeting up with people? Yeah. Bit of an experiment.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's something. It's always something that I've wanted to do, and I've done it on occasion, sort of long distance collaboration. But what I like about what you're doing is that you do actually meet up. I mean, with this project in particular, you're going to go over there, and it's going to be incredible. I'm super excited for you.
Yeah.
Have there been? So you have done some meetups, you've done some traveling, and you've gone and
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So it all started around the UK. I was going to Wales and Scotland and places like that as well. I was going all
Yeah.
over, just driving all about the place. I would try and keep a track within an area. So I would do a track around London and Surrey or something like that, or I'd do
Okay.
one that would be more Manchester, Scotland kind of thing. Just so I wasn't going up and down, side to side, all over the place.
Yeah.
And I had volunteer drivers and volunteers who would let me stay on their sofas and feed me and things like that. So, yeah, because it was all just everybody coming together and helping me out, and it was a really fun and exciting time, I've got to say. And the first time I went abroad. Oh, okay. The first time I went abroad was to Italy. Because I met a guy in London called Jonathan Gaglione, who's a great musician, and he played on the third track I did. And he's from northern Italy, near Milan, and he said, I know so many musicians in northern Italy. I used to be in a band over there. Well, so I was like, I tell you what, I'll buy us tickets. We'll fly over there. You get to see your family, and you'll be my guide. And he did. He just he booked it all for me. He got his mates to drive us from one place to the other, and we drove around. Italy, and it's so great, all the kind of adventures you have in between. The people you meet. Because you meet one person and they will know so many other people. They will have their own ideas, So
Yeah, exactly.
it's just meeting up with creative minds day after day. I would meet up with between 1 to 5 musicians in a day. So yeah, so I would go to all these different houses, and I might one person might give me lunch, and one person might give me dinner, and then afterwards with a group of people I might go to the pub with them to their local pub or something like that.
Yeah,
And
so
then I'll
you get
stay
the
on their
initial
house.
circle, and then you get everybody else's circles
Yeah,
as well.
and you meet more and more people, and it spreads out.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's what makes it such a unique project, I think, because there's not too many people that do actually go out there, and that's where you get the real experience, isn't it? It's not just the online sort of aspect. I mean, I guess, did you find everybody online? How do you even begin?
Yeah, I began because I'd been touring before as a session guitarist, and I had met so many musicians through that, through support tours, and you just do when you're touring. So I had all of those friends to sort of contact. So that was a big help. That got me started very well. And yeah, online really, I just put it out and just said, message me, get involved. And I got a really, really good response from it.
Okay, cool. So you just kind of opened the door and said, anyone's welcome, let's do this kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about the upcoming project then. So you first discovered the Zora Orchestra, was it through Facebook, I believe?
Yes, I was just sat around scrolling through my newsfeed, and I saw a feature video about them, and it had Nagina, who's the conductor. She's Afghanistan's first ever female conductor, and she was talking about her story about how some of her family had disowned her and her dad because her dad was letting her play music, and so they said that he wasn't their son anymore, and and things like that. God. And yeah, crazy. And just how passionate they were about what they were doing, and it really, really moved me. And straight away ideas started coming into my head. The second I saw it, it was kind of, at first I was like, because I had so many things going on, I was working on about 3 or 4 tracks simultaneously. It was very much like, I think I even reposted it on the 4-bar page. I shared the video I saw, and I said, I'm very busy this year, but maybe sometime in the future I could work with these guys. And then it sort of started to develop in my head. I was like, actually, this is really, really, really great, and this is happening right now. This video has just gone up.
Why wait? Yeah.
Yeah, like, why don't I can put everything else on hold and focus on this. And dots just started adding together in my head. I thought, I've got a friend who lives in Afghanistan. She's been working over there for a couple of years, so she might be able to help me out. I think she was working for a charity over there. So I thought that's a possibility, and I just started looking into it about how realistic it was to go over there to Afghanistan, and it is very possible. You can even go over there as a tourist, though that's not really advised, but I wanted to do it as a journalist, follow a route that had been very well trodden, that was the safe, proper way of doing it, where the government knows about it. I've got my visa sorted out and everything's taken care of properly.
Okay, so you're going by yourself then?
Yes.
Okay, and you've got security and stuff sorted out, sort of.
Yeah, they're
as
meeting
you
me at the
arrive,
airport. Yeah.
and you've got accommodation and things like that.
Yeah. So my travel and accommodation are taken care of by the same company. So they're going to pick me up, take me to my accommodation, and it's like a sort of hostel / hotel that's got a big 10-foot wall around it, with armed guards, and I'll be in there, and I've got my own room, which is nice, a little ensuite as well. So I wasn't expecting any of that. Yeah. And I think the way it works is I'm not allowed to go out and get groceries and things like that in the area or something. So the cook goes and gets everything like that for me. Apparently, I'll be quite babied, to be honest, while I'm over there.
Right, okay.
Because all my cooking will be done for me, all my washing will be done for me, and things like that, which will be good because it means I can just focus on the project, you know.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that gives you sort of. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you'll know what you need to do. I mean, you've already written the piece of music, which we'll talk about in a second. Have you sort of talked about? Are they going to practice something beforehand? Do you know what you're going to do together? Is it going to be a completely new version?
Well, I'm interested. Because I was talking to Zarifa the other day. She's one of the main members of Zora, and she went to study at Yale. Really, really interesting woman. She was saying that they've altered it a bit, which which I'm intrigued about. So you know, I think
but they've altered the track.
The track a little bit, yeah.
Right,
so
Nice.
I'm interested. So I wrote it out, and when I composed it originally, I composed it pretty free in terms of instrumentation. There's trumpets in there. I didn't know exactly what their setup was. So I did it like that, and then the music director, she sent me the sort of instrument lineup of the women and everything they had. And so I learned all about their instruments, and then I wrote it all to those instruments. So I kind of did a new arrangement of it. Then I made sure the score scanned properly, that it all looked right. And we sort of bounced it back and forth a couple of times with a few drafts till it was right. And then so now they've had the complete draft for quite a while now, and they've been rehearsing it.
Okay, awesome. So are you gonna be playing an instrument with them? Is it? Or are you just gonna record?
I'm just gonna record them. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
So essentially, it'd be a completely different, like a cover version, I guess, of what you've.
Yeah. Well, moving anything from something written on a computer to something being performed with a real orchestra, it's going to sound different, isn't it? With the way they play the sitars, and I kept it quite simple. I kept it with quite a lot of room for embellishment, because there might be little runs with the sitars and all the other instruments that I wouldn't have thought of. So I'm very open to have their input into the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I mean, it's a beautiful piece of music.
Thank you very
and the way
much.
it builds up is genuinely really uplifting. It's lovely to listen
Brilliant.
to.
That's exactly what I was going for.
But yeah, the kind of riffs that you've used, you can see that sort of being translated to a number of different instruments. So it's super exciting. I really look forward to hearing what they do with it and the direction they go with it.
Yeah.
So was the collaboration in your mind when you composed the piece, or was it just that at first you wanted to reach out and say that, I'm aware of you, I see you, I think you're amazing, kind of thing?
The way I tend to work is I get a full game plan in my head before I do anything, really.
Right, okay.
So even this happening right now, this conversation, and if I'm being interviewed on a TV show in the future, I've kind of pictured that in my head before I even wrote the piece of music. Do you know what I mean?
Right, okay.
Like, so everything that's happening now on the timeline, I kind of planned out initially, and then I began.
So your thought process, pretty much from the moment you heard about them and you listened to them play and you heard them talking and stuff, was then to make your way to, like, I want to go over there.
Yeah.
I want to.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I put together a whole kind of plan to just to make sure it was all possible, to see it all through in my mind and then make that into a reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
that's the best way to get stuff done, I guess. You've got to sort of have the plan and then there's nothing left to do but execute and kind of get it all done.
Yeah, for sure. for sure.
So what are you taking over there to record? Are you going to film it? You're going to do the documentary? Is that something that you've got a background in as well? Because sort of the whole putting films
in
together
videography.
Yeah.
Not really. It's just kind of from necessity, to be honest, because I've been sort of making my way as a composer for such a long time. Sorry. I've had to make show reels and score to films and things like that, where video editing is just something I've just done. It's just something I've been doing for a long time, and then recently I realised that you get better and better and better as you do these things.
Yeah.
I'm learning right now a lot about using cameras and getting my equipment all properly set up, and over the next few weeks I'm going to be essentially drilling it. I'm going to be practicing how I'm going to set the cameras up, speed, you know, a little bit like when a soldier learns how to sort of put a gun together and clean a gun and that kind of thing. It's just like, right, quicker, you know, Forrest Gump style.
Just making a habit of it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to be setting up the tripod, getting the camera on and all that kind of thing.
That's
so
awesome.
I'm going to have to use a lot of trickery and a lot of remote control, turning cameras on and off on my phone and things like that, to make it all work, and changing camera angles. But if you have that all planned out, I mean, I have it all written out step by step, every angle, the whole thing storyboarded, so that I get it absolutely perfect, but then at the same time be ready for anything to happen, because you really can't predict, especially in Afghanistan. The electricity could go out for a week at a time. That could happen while I'm over there, so I'm going to have to be ready.
That's something I was going to ask. I mean, do you have any trepidation about the trip at all? Is there anything that you're concerned about or worried about, or are you just kind of just treating it as is and being prepared to expect, I guess, anything?
Yeah, I try not to. I don't really tend to give much life to negative thought. I just kind of picture it happening well. But yeah, I suppose there is an element of trepidation surrounding, as I say, electricity giving out, or little things like the Wi-Fi going, just so that I'm not able to touch base with anybody, like my family or anything like that. I'm kind of more worried for them, to be honest, because if they're kind of there worrying, or my friends or anything, and they haven't heard from me for a week and they know I'm in Afghanistan, that would be an issue. I'd be concerned about them worrying. Sometimes people can get a bit hysterical when you say about Afghanistan. They start getting into the Taliban and ISIS and all these kinds of things, and sometimes I find myself buying into it a little bit and starting to entertain the notions of being captured or tortured or all these kinds of things. But it's not very likely, to be honest. It's people are doing this all the time, so being realistic about it, it's very unlikely that's going to happen. And if something like that does happen, I'll just have to roll with it, won't I? You know, what is worrying going to do? It's not going to serve me in any way to be concerned about it.
No, exactly. There's going to be an element of risk in anything like this, isn't there? And often
exactly.
I think you get the best projects sometimes when you do really go out into the unknown and take some of those risks. So what about kind of language barriers? Is there going to be a problem with that? Are you going to just kind of, will there be a translator or?
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about language barriers, because the only Afghan people I'll really be communicating will be within the Afghanistan National Institute of Music, and Zora mostly, and most of them have their English is pretty good, and I'll have the music director with me who's English, who works with them on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
So yeah, there'll be plenty of sort of translators present. I'm not bringing a specific one, but I know that there'll be a lot of people there who can translate. And the Zora girls that I have spoken to over Facebook and stuff, that we've found it very easy to communicate.
Okay, because so you're going to do some interviews with some of the girls from the choir, from the orchestra. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's awesome. Are you planning that, or are you going to just kind of play it by ear and?
I've got a list of questions.
Okay.
What I really want to achieve is I want to achieve an interview that feels genuine and feels very engaging. I want to get them at their most relaxed. I'll probably do the interviews towards the end of the tour, once they've really got to know me, they're comfortable with me, and you know, they can completely be themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't want to get an interview where it's a news team being there, like, so
on the spot,
talk, sort of thing.
answer now.
Yeah. I want to have it very relaxed, go on and you know, edit it, get the best bits where they're most themselves.
Yeah.
I think that would be really, really great.
And so, what do you think the impact of you going over there to do this will be, like to film this documentary and to record this piece of music with the orchestra? What are your hopes for the outcome?
Well, I hope that a lot of people watch the music video. I hope that a lot of people buy the song that will be available on all platforms like iTunes and things like that. All the money from that is going to Zora's Fund, strictly non-profit for me. First and foremost, I want people to know about Zora. I want people to know about what's going on over there. I want them to know the importance of fighting for equality. I want to fight against this idea of feminism being man-hating and all these kinds of things, and actually show that it is relevant in the world, extremely relevant in the world right now, and kind of put feminism back in the good light that it's been taken away from with the kind of feminazi phenomenon we've kind of had in the last few years. And secondly, I want to, I say there's no profit in it for me. There's certainly no monetary profit in it for me, but the profit that is in it for me is exposure, that this project will be recognised, that I did something good, that it's the end result, the documentary and the music video, that's something that was enjoyed, that the documentary gets televised and does well in the film festivals and competitions, and that would mean that I get a bigger following, which means I can do more projects like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I want to go on with this project. I want to work with people with mental health issues, with dementia. I want to work with cultures all over the world. I want to work in all different genres. I want to raise awareness, and I want to raise money for as many charities, as many causes as I possibly can through music, simply bringing people together and breaking down barriers, basically.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I like the way that you phrase that. I mean, it's inspiring stuff, and hopefully the documentary and the music that comes out of it will inspire other people to do the same. What would you say that it is that drives you to do this? Obviously you talk about that you want to make a difference and that you want to have a positive impact on things, but what is it that keeps you going kind of every day if you're going through times where it's a little bit difficult or you're struggling, you know, to motivate yourself? What would you say that it is that really pushes you along?
Yeah, wow, that's an interesting question. I really, really love music,
Okay.
and I love people.
That's a good place to start.
And that's a good place to start. I'm happiest when I'm in the studio, working on recording anything, and writing music and creating art, editing videos, and meeting people. You know. That's what I love doing, and if there's any way that I can live my life doing that as much as possible, then I'm happy, really. It is hard. I struggle with a lot of anxiety issues, and I have depression, and I think they said I've got something like borderline personality disorder or something like that.
Right.
So I do have days where I can't get out of bed, or I have days where I can't talk to anybody, or I can't see the positive in anything at all. But the thing is, I think that's kind of how I work. I'm either on or off. So I hide away when everything's negative, but then when I'm on, my emotions are very very amplified. So. Yeah. I don't like people. I love people. You know what I mean? Right. I feel very, very great emotions all the time and motivated. I get so much out of making people happy and making a difference in the world. And that is my main motivation, really. And hopefully, as a byproduct from that, I can build up a portfolio and outside of 4 Bar Collective, I want to be a composer and a voiceover artist and a producer and all these kinds of things. And 4 Bar Collective is essentially my calling card. This is where I put all the work in, and it's, you know, a lot more altruistic, and I don't make money out of it, but people can see what I'm doing, and if they like my music and they have a business or a movie or a TV show or an audio book, a book they want to be recorded, then they can come to me and I can make a living from that, and that can support me to eat and sleep, and keep on doing 4 Bar as well.
Makes sense. So that's sort of 4 Bar Collective is kind of the building blocks for you to kind of get to where you want to be, I guess.
Yeah, and it also gives me purpose. You know, I really need that sense of purpose, I think, greatly. Going back to what I was saying about the anxiety and depression and things like that is, I don't know, I'm very aware that I have a very limited time of being alive on the earth. You know what I mean? Like, this is my window of existence. And I want to do something different with it. I want to be creative with it. I don't want to just sort of be confined to the rules. You know, I didn't want to say, right, okay, this is the career you can do. I wanted to make my own career, and I wanted that career to make people happy, and I wanted it to bring people together and make music. You know, so 4 Bar Collective gives me a reason to get out of bed in the morning, and gives me a reason to push through any of my personal problems, and do something good in the world with my life.
I think in a lot of ways, if you know, people that, particularly creative people that have those down days, it really, like you said, it amplifies the up days. And so you're like, I feel incredible. I want to use this as much as I can because I know it might not last, and I want to do as much good as I can. So it makes a lot of sense. In terms of going your own path, which you just talked about, I guess it is a career path for you, but it's also a creative pursuit. What is something that you've been doing perhaps over the last 6 to 12 months that's really worked for you in progressing in your career and in your creative venture? Something that you might recommend to other people looking to get involved with new projects, for example?
Yeah, I would say the best thing is getting out of your bedroom and getting out into the world and meeting people, really. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I kind of thinking while talking there kind of slowed me down.
That's all right.
More thoughts going on in my head than are coming out of my mouth.
Do you mean kind of doing rather than thinking about doing?
Yes. You know what? Not putting limitations on yourself. I said in a recent Facebook Live video about PR, I've always told myself that I can't do PR work, because I get anxious and I don't like phoning people and all these kinds of things. And I just decided, well, I've got to do it. So you know what? I'm actually amazing at PR. I'm the best at PR. I just told myself that, and I just started working really, really hard and just started pushing it. And I don't know why I've never done it before. I think the only thing that stopped me was a little voice in my head telling me that I couldn't.
Just your own self-doubt.
Yeah, exactly. And if you can break down those self-doubts, then you really can achieve so much more. And have you ever read the book Yes Man or seen the film with Jim Carrey?
I've seen the film. I've not read the book.
Yeah, that film pushed me at a lot of times in my life, not just recently, but in the past as well. When I feel like things are slowing down, I sometimes do a little bit of a yes man, where, so if any kind of opportunity comes up and it scares me, I'll say yes. Everything in my head goes, no, I don't want to do that, I'm completely uncomfortable with doing that, and I'm like, yep, I'll be there, I'll do it, I'll film this thing,
I definitely believe in that.
If somebody says, and if somebody says to me, say I'm doing a voiceover job, or a composition or anything, say if somebody said, can you compose for me a deathcore track? I haven't spent much time researching deathcore music or playing it, but I would say yes I can. Yeah. And I would go away and I would make it happen. If somebody said, I want you to talk in an American accent, like, can you do an American accent? I'd be like, yeah, sure. Then I go away, I would learn the accent, and I would try and pull it off.
Exactly.
And that's how work comes in.
A lot of the time, by giving yourself that deadline, essentially, you work a lot harder, because it's like, right, I've only got this small amount of time, I can do this. Or either you can or you can't. I guess you soon find out if you jump in at the deep end. It's definitely a good way to be.
Yeah.
So regarding this upcoming project, what have been some of the greatest barriers so far? And you've already talked about some of your concerns, but mostly you're quite optimistic about going over there. Have there been any barriers, or has it all been quite smooth so far?
Ooh. Well, there's always going to be a lot of barriers with projects like this. The biggest issue I've had is working with other people. That's been a really, really big issue. Usually I work by myself with everything. I like to have full control over it, because I love collaborating with people for this, for the sake of the project. That's what the project is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of strange for me to say that I like working alone. But when it comes to the product coming out, I cannot stand having to wait for somebody else's work ethic.
Right.
Because, if I need something for them and there's a deadline coming up and I haven't heard back from them, there's so much stress involved with that. It really, really slows things down. And the thing is everybody has a different perspective on life and how things are done. And my kind of view on how to get something done is just do the best thing you can with what you've got. Be creative. The amount of times I've had to make mic stands out of broomsticks or something like that. Just anything around me, I'll just bodge it together. You know what I mean? Yeah. And a lot of people that you see have the money behind them. They have all the gear but no idea. You know what I mean? They don't have that creative eye. What would be wonderful is if I had all the gear, or more creative people had all the gear and the creative eye, but that's often not the case. So some people that you'll want to work with, they will have a lot of requirements. I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this. And the budget suddenly goes 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. And working by myself, I really don't need very much at all. So that has been the biggest kind of hurdle really in organising it. So I met up with a videographer recently, and she's been to Afghanistan, done projects like this. She's very, very brilliant. Not going to say her name, but she was kind of saying to me, she was like, well, do you have the $25,000 for this post-editing part? And studio here, and do you have the $20,000 to pay these sound engineers to do this, and blah blah blah, and all this. I was like,
no.
Nope. And she was like, well, you can't do it then. Well, how's it going to happen? And it's like, I'll do it in my bedroom. And you could say that is a very amateur which it is. I am an amateur producer. I am an amateur composer, filmmaker, everything really. But at the end of the day, the quality of what I put out, I'm very happy with.
That's kind of the future of a lot of videography and YouTubers and stuff.
Exactly.
At home these days.
Yeah. Where there's a will, there's a way. Is my perspective on it. And that's been the biggest hurdle, really, in a nutshell, is people telling me that it can't be done, or trying to make me believe it can't be done for reasons that only exist in their sort of worldview. It's just I've decided it's possible, so I'm going to make sure it's possible in any way.
No, that's awesome.
And it sounds like a very, very big project, but if you actually break it down, it's not really. Writing the song, that's what I do generally. Getting in touch with them, social media makes that so easy these days. Flying over there, you're just going onto Skyscanner and buying a flight. Booking accommodation, you're just booking accommodation. You've done it all before. If you break it down step by step, there's actually nothing too intimidating about it. And if you look at the big picture, if you look at it as a headline, I'm flying off to Kabul on my own, a known sort of city that's been torn apart by war, that sounds very, very intimidating. But one step at a time, it's really
that's a really sensible way to look at it. I guess you could apply that to all kinds of pursuits like this. That was something that I was going to mention, because obviously to talk about the trip and how long you're going to stay for and when you're going to come home and what you set out to achieve, a lot of the time things don't go quite as they're intended to, which it sounds like you're prepared for and you're just going to take it as it comes. I guess the experience is going to change your perspective a little bit, because the situation there in reality is going to be quite different to what we're permitted access to, you know, on the internet. Are you open to staying longer? Are you open to extended projects? Or is there a next step that requires you to be home by a certain point? Like, do you have a deadline?
No, I haven't set myself any deadlines in that way. I have an open-ended ticket, so that if something does go wrong, I get there, the electricity's out, and they don't know when it's coming back on, or we don't get all the footage we need, then I'll change my flight and I'll come back a few days later. Yeah, so I'm going to keep it open over there.
So, as you probably know, the Stereo Stickman website is one that aims to reach out and connect with musicians from all over the world, similar to yourself. But what we do is we review music, we put together interviews such as this, we put out articles and content about how to develop your craft as a musician, how to get gigs, how to build an audience, how to record your own music, that kind of thing. Basically anything that seems like it would be useful from our perspective as musicians. As a musician yourself and a composer, what do you see as the greatest opportunities for musicians and artists just starting out at the moment? And what advice can you give to those wondering in which direction they should go in?
Yeah, my advice to young musicians who are just starting out would be to have a really open mind and experiment with... There are so many different jobs in the music industry that you won't be aware of when you start out. It's been a real journey for me, and I've dipped my toes into everything from roadieing, tour managing, to composing, to Foley, to, you know, it goes on and on and on. And you never know what industry it might be that you end up loving, you know. So my producer who worked with me on the Sister piece, his background is in sort of pop punk kind of Blink-182. He's called Tom Biggs, and at the moment he's doing hip hop as a drummer. And he said to me the other day, he's an amazing hip hop drummer now, and he said, I never imagined that I would be listening to hip hop all the time and writing hip hop instrumentals and things like that. And you know, he could have had a closed mind about it and been, you know, this is my genre, this is pop punk, this is what I want to do. But somebody said, do you want to do drums for a rapper? And he was like, yes I will. And so he got into that and discovered that he absolutely loved it. And so I think that's a very good way to be, is to keep that open mind, and be open to every opportunity that comes your way, and create as many opportunities for yourself as you possibly can. Get out there. I say this all the time, but get out your bedroom, go on network, go and meet people, go to gigs. When you go and see a band, talk to the band afterwards, and search the internet. You know, find ways to get yourself out there. Find ways to be original. Look at what everybody else is doing, and then think of how you can do it differently. You know, because if everybody's going on there as a singer-songwriter and just posting their video of them with a guitar in front of their computer, that's probably not going to work unless your song is absolutely exceptional. Think outside the box and find an original way to put it out. You know, think of unique things that you can do that'll make you stand out from the rest. Right.
So you advise to kind of just start doing and start documenting what you're doing and trying different things rather than sitting at home trying to work it out and waiting for an epiphany, I guess.
Yeah. Just experiment and just try all sorts of different things, and push yourself to epiphanies by going out and experiencing the world, I would say.
Amazing. Well, that's great advice. Thank you. So there's still a few weeks left on the Kickstarter campaign, I think. I'll let everyone know the links to that. Have you got a flight booked already? Are you already sorted as to... I know you don't want to reveal when you're going, but do you know?
I do. I do have the flight booked, but the money for the Kickstarter will help me out a lot with equipment and security. So, you know, if people are kind of thinking, oh, well, it's going to happen regardless, it'll happen a lot better if you help me out with the Kickstarter. And it's a very good way for people to get involved, because there's a lot of people out there who feel very frustrated when they read about all these things. You know, you hear about oppression of women and of everybody really in some countries, and you feel like you can't do anything about it. And with some charities, you don't know where your money's going. With this, you know exactly where your money's going. So it's a way for people to get involved and be a part of promoting women's rights and equality and fighting against extremism, fighting against terror, and promoting talent and love and happiness, you know. And there aren't very many opportunities that you see out there for that. So
Absolutely.
that's the opportunity that's there if you want to contribute.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think it's incredible what you're doing, and I think that's what drew my attention to it originally, was just, wow, this is really something special. You know, and there are risks involved, but that's part of what makes it so special, and it's so important as well. I really hope everything goes as smoothly as it can. I can't wait to see the footage and hear what they do with the song as well.
Yeah.
So lots of luck to you.
I'm so excited.
It's gonna. Do you know how long you're going to be over there, roughly, or?
Roughly a week.
Okay. So it's quite a short time to kind of get everything done and get back. What about editing? Are you going to come back and do that from home?
Yeah. I'm going to get back and do that all from home, and then get onto it. And then it's just about getting it all out there and doing as many interviews and pushing it as much as I can.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hopefully we can catch up with you again at some point in the future and have a little sort of post-event chat to see how everything's gone.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah.
I really, really appreciate it. And all the best
Thank
with
you
the project.
very much.
You're very welcome. If you'd like to get involved with Dan's project and help out, please do. You can head over to the 4Bar Collective website. That's the number 4barcollective.com. You can search for Fighting Extremism with Music on Kickstarter and pledge your support there. You can also find and follow the project on Facebook and Twitter. That's facebook.com/4barcollective, and the Twitter handle is @4barcollective. It is set to be a pretty incredible documentary, so it's well worth getting on board with. Make sure you don't miss out, and all the best to Dan and Zora for the upcoming collaboration. Thank you so much for listening today. I really appreciate your time. I hope you enjoyed the session. And to see us out is the incredible composition that we've just been talking about. This is Sister by Dan Blackwell.